Okay, next item on the agenda is update and discussion of the mayor's office regarding the 2016-17 budget process and related community outreach. And we have Leland Woodhouse, the budget director for the mayor's office. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
And we have 4 major items on the agenda, so I hope this won't take more than
No, it won't take very long, and I apologize for not bringing invitations to it. We just got a bunch of invitations from our graphic designer, and there was a misspelling on it, so back to the drawing board.
Just grab the middle and look below there and pull up on the handle.
There we go.
Okay.
Here we are. So Mayor Liccardo will be hosting another civic engagement opportunity around the budget for the development of the 2016-17 budget on February 20th, which is a Saturday. It's going to start at 9 a.m. and we're going to be hosting it at Parkside Hall rather than City Hall. We're going to be opening it to the public this year. In the past, just each neighborhood association throughout the city has been able to elect one person to attend. This year we're going to open up to the general public, so anyone that wants to participate will be able to. We're actually going to be doing things a little bit different this year as well. We're going to be kind of doing it in 2 different phases, which I think will be exciting. There's going to be something we do at the very beginning with our mobile devices to get some really high-level city priorities, so that everyone gets to kind of, have their say on general citywide priorities. And then a bulk of the morning after that is going to be budget games again, which we've done in the past, except it's going to be around programs and services for our neighborhoods. So very important to this group. Our goal is to get a lot of good information for our March budget message and for the June budget message, are really around services and programs that affect, our neighborhoods, our streets and roads, in our neighborhoods, programs and activation, beautification. And we're going to be doing what we call a zero-based exercise. So right now we're taking all these different programs throughout the city, coming up with a dollar value that we're spending this year and what the output is. So if we're spending like $3 million a year on neighborhood cleanups, how many neighborhood cleanups does it actually do for the city annually? And what we're going to do is zero that out and give each table whatever that total is, like $100 million a year, and they'll develop their own budget that they would like to see in their own neighborhood. Not every neighborhood wants tree trimming services the same, and that'll really give the mayor and council priority. So we're going to do it a little bit differently, try and open up to the masses and have a little fun with technology, and kind of drill down into more of a detailed focus this year. With that, I'm available for any questions you might have.
Gary?
Where was the location again?
Sorry, Parkside Hall, across the street from the convention center. And I'll make sure I send Angelique the electronic invitation as soon as it's done so she can distribute it to the commission.
That's the one on Santa Carlos Street?
It's in San Carlos. It's right across the street from the convention center. It's actually attached to the Tech Museum.
Okay.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that, I thought that was the auditorium, or is that a different name?
That's a civic auditorium. It's kind of like off to the side.
Is
Civic
that
auditorium.
Jay McCain's hall?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so, yeah, no, go on.
About approximately how many people are expected to participate, or what is the capacity? And then I just wonder, just statistically, I'm thinking, could a group, as sometimes groups do, produce a large number of people who participate and sort of skew the priorities?
Yeah. So the capacity with the way we're going to configure it, we'll nearly be able to fit 1,000 people. So there'll be an opportunity for 1,000 residents to participate. If we actually had problems with capacity, it would be a wonderful problem. Similar to budget games, when people register, they're going to have to give us their name, zip code, and council address, and they're going to be assigned a table. So hopefully at each table, you're going to have a facilitator, someone from city staff there to answer questions, and then hopefully there'll be someone from every single district. So you'll be playing a game very similar to how mayor and council play. So if, God forbid, Joe and all of his friends from District 1 decided, hey, we're going to start talking about neighborhood parking, let's bring all of our friends. Hopefully some of that would be mitigated because there'll be some controls on the game. But at the end of the day, it's really about, you guys telling us what you want, so the mayor and council kind of have a sense of, what the neighborhood priorities are. Not that Joe would do that, of course.
So I checked last year, I just want to make sure that none of the budget money that's available during this exercise
is available for direct deposit into any citizen or commissioner's account. Right?
That is
I
correct.
checked those. I just want to check. Thank
Yes,
you.
but I think if you buy a lotto ticket before like 8 o'clock tonight, you have a
Right.
chance at the
Moving it, sir.
Powerball money.
Appreciate your amendment.
Okay, Matt?
Matt Wallen, District 8, and my question is just how are you doing the outreach for this? Because in the past, there were well-established contact lists for all the neighborhood associations, and if you're opening it to the public, how is the public going to know?
Very good question. So we'll be on, would have been tonight, but hopefully tomorrow or Friday, there'll be an email that goes out to all the neighborhood association leaders like there has in the past. And then we'll also be utilizing the city manager's neighborhood list, Mayor Liccardo, and council members will be utilizing their newsletters, social media, and sending it out to their distribution lists. And any other avenues that you think are important, besides some postcards we're going to put in libraries and community centers would obviously be helpful. It's definitely a much bigger lift for us to get that number of people there versus kind of a small target of the community like there was in the past.
So you're going to make sure we get copies of this too? For us?
Absolutely, I should have brought some tonight, except there was an error on it.
Do you have to register in advance?
You do. So there'll be a link. And then one of the things I actually forgot to mention is if anyone's able to attend on the 20th, there'll be an online component the week of the 22nd that'll be available to play online throughout the entire week. And that'll be available as a single player component. So if you want to log in like at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night and play it on your own, you can, and it'll give us your priorities. But it'll also be available earlier on in the night. So if you join and there's others playing, you can play with other people. So for those that aren't available to attend on the 20th, there'll be additional avenues for input.
One?
So now I'm just curious, will the statistics be available by district? I'm just curious as to what each district values and how it compares to other districts, and I'm sure you consider that when allocating funds.
The results are always public, so we'll release those usually in past practices, like last year when we did this exercise. I think the mayor and I in the March budget message included kind of like the top 15 priorities that came out of it to kind of send a clear signal. But again, you know, what we choose to do with it or your individual council member in their budget proposals is, you know, is different from district to district.
Yeah, I've got two questions and a suggestion for you, Lee. I've talked to a lot of people around town, and everybody's pretty jaded about this thing. They think the game is fixed and the decisions have already been made, and this just is an exercise. Personally, I like that part of it, but that's just me. I've been telling people I know these guys from past life in District 3, and they're all good people, and I trust them. So first question is, what's a better answer to that question from the people? And then the other thing I hear a lot of is, given the timing of this in late February, how is that going to be wrapped into the March budget message? Is there enough time to take this input, or is it just a good kids, you did a fine job? And then my suggestion is take both of these responses that you have and get it in the publicity going out to people, because this is a pretty widespread feeling.
Yes. Okay. You know, I don't know if I have a better response for if people think the results are like preconceived, but they're not. I do think, you know, I don't know what a good response is, other than if people want to complain about the process, I would appreciate feedback early on about how it should be different. We tried to have that conversation in the spring with a bunch of community leaders. How do we make this process better? And very little wanted to participate in that conversation. So I think, you know, we're trying to add ways to allow this to be broader than just 200 community leaders, which I think is good. We're trying to add online and mobile technology so it's more accessible for people that can't come downtown and participate. And I think those are good things. I think the results are important. I mean, last year we took the top 10 list, and if you look at the funding priorities that the mayor listed out and a majority of the council members, they coincided with that list. So I do think the priority setting is
Was
very
that a
important.
result of the list, or were they kind of, I think these are pretty predictable priorities most years.
Yeah, so I think they become pretty predictable, you know, especially, you know, we didn't go out and do a telephone survey this year because it had become quite predictable around budget priorities. And so, you know, we are going to spend a little bit of time on those high-level priorities at the very beginning of this, and I would say, I think, you know, public safety is going to come out number one, you know, big surprise. That's kind of part of the reason for the second part, is why we want to drill down and get into more detail around just neighborhood priorities, you know, if you think about kind of the city's core services are up here, those are pretty easy to figure out what people and how they'll prioritize what's important to them. So let's get down all the way to the third layer, you know, the really nitty-gritty, like neighborhood cleanup versus anti-graffiti, which one's more important? That's the kind of level I think that hopefully will, resonate with people this year a little bit more. And then I don't know how you have people trust us more.
Okay.
If you find out a better answer, let me know.
Okay, Robert?
Yes. How about the budgeting for the issues of illegal dumping? As of today, I took more pictures. I have a stack like that of pictures that I have taken while we've been off on. And the problem is very critical for our beautiful city of San Jose. And the city hasn't hired enough personnel to pick these up. I could have brought a lot more than I took today. And the thing is that budgeting enough money for signage or cameras and the hotspot areas. I know they can't do it in every area, but on the hotspot areas. And we could propose certain hotspot areas where the city, and there's the money to take care of this issue or resolve this issue.
And that's what the 20th is going to be about. So we're going to take 30 different services that are going on in neighborhoods right now, the illegal dumping program response being one of them. And if you think it's critically important, you can put the most amount of money in that section. A big part of the game too is we don't think that the services and programs that we have right now that are in our neighborhoods are like the answers to fix our neighborhood problems. So each of these tables, and participants, you're going to have opportunities to submit new ideas and allocate money towards those. So if you have additional ideas on how to combat illegal dumping, there'll be opportunities to have that conversation on the 20th.
All right.
Okay, one question also, previous years you had meetings in each of the council districts also, will that be again this year, or is this on and only?
No, we will. So just on the timeline, and I don't think I answered Pete's question. So on the 20th, we'll have this first initial round, and this will be kind of the, kind of large input, and that'll get funneled into the mayor's March budget message, which is the signal to city staff, go develop the budget with these parameters, and that'll come out on March 18th, so there's a good 4 weeks between the two. The operating budget and capital budget will get released on May 1st by the city manager, and throughout the first 2 to 3 weeks of May, we'll have meetings in each council district. We're also going to have 2 or 3 online town halls around the budget this year as well, and we'll be integrating some priority setting and technology as a part of those meetings, so they're not the same as they've been the past 8 or 10 years.
And you said those would be in May?
Those will be in May, the first 3 weeks of May.
And then the final budget is decided in June, right?
Correct.
Okay, Joe, you had a question?
Well, actually, maybe a little bit of a help, Lee, for answering the question about, how do you show that the city's actually putting itself out there and opened up. I think just putting a zero-based budget out there for the neighborhoods to hack around in has never been done before. And that's, all the cards are out on the table. And in the past, what has been put on the table of the little modules, we're there partly to go through and make the game work, but I think, it was also to go through and kind of direct where people went with the answers. So this, I think, is going to be a very different experience than what neighborhoods have ever seen.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, zero-based budgeting is a really different approach. In the past, you guys have had, options, and this is going to cost 19 million. If you do it, it has to cost 19 million. This is going to be zeroed out. So if you see something costs $10 million and it does, 10 neighborhood cleanups, maybe neighborhood cleanups aren't important to you. You can give it $0, but you can also give it $30 million depending on, how important you think it is. So this, is less pre-described, I guess, which is important.
Juan?
Yeah, so thank you for noting the new flexibility that will be included, not just in the allocating whatever amount you believe is important, but also in being able to suggest new ideas. I think Pete's comments reminded me that sometimes it felt like a fixed fight, and so flexibility, I think, will go a long way toward helping people feel like they're empowered to make the decision. So thank you.
And just to help answer that question, I guess, I don't know how you tell people that the mayor and I are more trustworthy. But I will say, I've been on this job a year now, and one of the things I was surprised about, being on city staff, the budget game is just kind of a normal thing, we do it annually. But now having this job, just the amount of requests we get to go speak at conferences or when we're at the League of Cities talking about this stuff, there's not a lot of other cities that do this level of engagement around this large of a budget. So it might be kind of a norm for us and we're used to it, but we really kind of are far out there in this, and we should remember that.
Okay, Nick?
Yeah, quickly, I've been to all the budget games, I think 4 or 5 of them that we've had over the last several years, and I enjoy the process each and every time. I would concur with Joseph and also with Juan that having zero-based and having more of a openness in that regard is going to make it a more interesting game. It'll be interesting to see how it compares to prior years where it's more of a closed-ended set of questions you get as participant in budget games. Also opening it up more broadly than the smaller invite list, I think is a fabulous idea, and that'll bring people in both the budgeting process to participate, but also possibly to engage in the commissioners, volunteers, people who want to be involved, so much applause.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, Kamala.
So my question, I need a question. My question is on a little bit of probably adjacent, but it's regarding what the city spends on its own cleanup, but how can we better leverage areas that are jurisdiction not ours, but they're in San Jose, like 87 coming right through town and looking like, a builder's trash dump. I commute it every day, and I've called in several times to Caltrans, and they are, well, their reputation precedes them as totally unresponsive. But is there some way we can put money toward getting other people to do their job?
Absolutely. I think that'll be part of the game. I would ask maybe the gentleman sitting behind me, Paul Pereira, after the meeting can speak to you about that. We do have a few different initiatives in Mayor Liccardo's office. We're partnering with Caltrans or private companies within downtown or North San Jose to help clean up some of those gateways in those areas. But again, you will have an opportunity to appropriate money to those programs.
Okay, meeting, and then we need to move on, so.
Thank you. I was just seeking clarification. So you said that we're going to be receiving the results of the exercises that we do?
Yes.
Okay, and how far out? Is it gonna take you 4 weeks? Is it 6 weeks, 6 months?
Well, we'll be in the drafting the March message probably like the day after this meeting, so we do get the results fairly quickly. So the live exercise we're going to do at the beginning, those results are actually going to be instantaneous. You'll be voting with your phone and seeing the results up on the screen, which will be kind of cool. And those are easily downloadable, and I'll send them out to the participants within a few days. The neighborhood game you're going to play at the table, it'll probably take us a few days or a week, but we do intend to send the results out as we always do soon thereafter.
Thank you.
Anybody that hasn't asked a question will have a question? Okay.